with any blueprint of what is future of Ayurveda. Because when we talk about future, it is always unpredictable. And as I will tell you in the slides also, that there are many futures. There could not be a single future for anything. So it is a journey. Going towards future is a journey, and there must be flexibility for that. So unless and until we have flexibility, unless and until we have non-rigidity, I can say, then only we can successfully reach to our goals. And another thing I want to make again clear, that yes, we can create our future. So that is in our hand. But we should not be rigid for that. That is only the thing I want to talk in the as an introduction of this. Another important thing is, when we are talking about 2047, these students, from where they are coming, they will come from after completing their schooling. So what would be this condition of the school education in 2047? That we have to understand first. Then only we can understand what type of students they are going to come over here for the Ayurveda education. So it is there are few anticipated characteristics of school education, and for that all over world many agencies and many great people, they are working for this, and their conclusion is there will be personalized curriculum in 2047, or you can say 2050. There will be reduced fees. Now there is a problem for fee structure in school education, and in many big schools the fees are more than the professional courses in government colleges. So that will reduce. That is what their understanding is. There will be choice of curriculum. They can go for many things. Even in new education policies, they have introduced this 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 4, like that. That structure is there. And then there will be home schooling. There may not be very big schools or very big school buildings which we are seeing today. There could be a home schooling, and there will be a project-based learning in the schools. Greater focus on socio-emotional development. See, we are going very fast with the technology. There is a discussion. In everyday's newspaper, there will be one article on the social media, its bad effects, its good effects, etc., and the psychology. But there will be a great focus on socio-emotional development. There will be a bigger parental role. Why I am talking this to the students? Because you will be parents at that time. So be careful and see to it very carefully that there will be bigger parental role, and there will be massive open online courses. It is called MOOCs. Massive open online courses. In NCISM, we have introduced elective courses. This is the beginning. After 25 years, there will be massive these courses at school level, and students will join those things. And with this background, student will come for Ayurveda education or any professional education. So when we talk about the future, we must first understand with what background they will come. Again, there is a difference between two words. I want to make it clear for this, particularly for the students, not for the elders. Particularly in India, we were using these two words since long: literacy and educatedness. Literacy is one thing, and educatedness is another thing. Our forefathers, they may not be literate, but they were not uneducated. They were skilled, and now our Honorable Sir is heading the same ministry, and he has pointed out very nicely regarding the skills. Who will survive? A person having skill will survive, not having degree. They may have degree, but they may not survive if they don't have skills. So our ancestors, our forefathers, they were skilled. So they were educated, they may not be literate. अंगूठा लगाते होंगे, they may not be in a position to sign. a check in the bank, but they were educated. So that difference will come again if you don't have skill. Again, you will be literate but not educated. So that difference we must understand when we talk about the future, because again the world is going on the same way from which it has come. So 25 years to go is a question mark. Actually 24 years to go is a question mark. Why question mark? Because in NCISM what we did is we first found out that what will be the challenges in 2030, and accordingly we started arranging our education, our curriculum, our skills and our development and competency based syllabus. So in NCISM we don't want to go for 25 years, we have to go for say 17 years or 16 years. That's why that question mark is there. Then what all factors will influence our future, that we must understand. It is not moving. And the first one is source of energy. Why source of energy? Because till the invention of this electricity, our lifestyle of human beings all over the world was different. And when this has come, what was the impact? The impact was our sleeping time extended by 3 hours. जो शाम को 7 बजे सोते थे वो 10 बजे सोने लगे, जो 8 बजे सोते थे वो 11 बजे सोने लगे, जो 9 बजे सोते थे वो 12 बजे सोने लगे. And then the effect on Ayurvedic principle was, it is written, sir, Brahme Muhurte Uttishte Jirna Jirna Nirupayan. A person who is sleeping at 7 o'clock in the evening after taking his dinner, he can only get up in the Brahma Muhurta. A person who is sleeping at 12 o'clock, he could not. So that was the impact of energy actually on our field. And I saw a very wonderful, I think 2 years back, I saw a very wonderful article in Nature, and the title was The Dark Side of the Light. And he has given many examples of this impact of this light, not only on human, on insects, on breeding of insects, on pollination, and so many things, on biology at large. So this source of energy is very important. And now what our students are reciting, Brahme Muhurte Uttishte Jirna Jirna Nirupayan, at 12 o'clock in the night. So is it a time to modify it? Or is it a time to rewrite it? So this source of energy has a very big impact. Like petrol came, like diesel came, speed of our vehicles, that increased. What is written in Ayurvedic text? What will happen if you go on a rath? What will happen when you will ride on a horse? What will happen means biological effect, physiological effect, if you ride on an elephant. Now our students are riding on a bike with a speed of not less than 70 kilometers per hour. So what will be the biological impact of this? This is the impact of energy on our life. What about cooking? Again same thing. And now in coming 25 years, these source of energies are going to change. The whole world is working on that. So it may be hydrogen energy, it may be solar energy has already come. So my question is, if the pollution created by the present source of energies will reduce, what will happen to cancer? Whether it will reduce or what happens, that we have to see. So this source of energy is a very important factor which influences our future. Another is demand from the society. For me, what I am observing since my hair start graying is society is a living organism. Society at large, they think in totality. I will give you an example. Who decided not to go into engineering colleges? a farmer from a small village to a industrialist in the Bangalore, everybody started thinking in the same way. And the result, no admissions in engineering colleges. Because society at large is a very, very powerful thing. It is a living organism. So, what society thinks is very important, and if society thinks that you are not hereafter needed, then how many institutions you are creating and what type of policy you are creating doesn't make any difference. Society takes its own decision, depends on their wisdom, not only information. So many things in the society we could not control. Actually, our policies, our behavior, our decisions are influenced by the society, whatever you do at your end. So this demand from the society you must respect. Another thing is advances in science and technology. Science and technology is a very big tool, and it is simply you are driven away by the technology particularly. So when so many technologies are coming, then how much technology do we need for our life should be decided by the society and the sector as well. So this science and technology is a very big influence on our future. So this is another important factor, and the global scenario. Everywhere, why the demand of Ayurveda increased? My humble opinion is it is not because of Ayurvedic practitioner, it is not because of the Indian person. The global demand increased, and we have an impact. So this global scenario is changing. That's why that will have a very, very, very great impact on our future. Recently, last week only, we have a proposal from UAE to open Ayurveda college over there, because we are dealing with till 2 weeks before we only used to receive the proposals from India or Nepal or Sri Lanka, uske bahar nahi. But now it has started coming from the outside. So it is not. See, my request is this is not the issue of clapping. What we are looking at is the future. What all things. So global scenario is changing. That's why our future will also change. That is what I want to make it. हमारा एक ही भविष्य नहीं हो सकता. When we talk about a sector, it is all right that we want that Ayurveda will become a grade medical system in India and abroad, or whatever you want to say. But future could not be one, and there always could be a possibility of alternate futures. So that's why in the beginning I told that I have not come here with a blueprint. No, because in 25 years what all things are going to change, we are not sure, sir. So that's why possibility of alternate futures are always there. So don't keep it in your mind that this is the future of Ayurveda. No. That's why flexibility in application of the policies is most important for the future planning. There must be a flexibility. If you are rigid, so there is a possibility that you will lose the track. So there must be a flexibility as the time changes, as the technology changes, because technology also has a speed. Many times we don't know what happens with the coming things. Or like the endemic, pandemic, corona, everything has changed within 2 years. So it was not predicted 5 years back that this will happen and everything will change in 2 years. School education will change in 2 years. There will be a lot of unemployment all of a sudden. There will be a work from home culture in IT. Nobody thought of. All ITs, you are in Bangalore, you are seeing all IT people, they have such a huge buildings. They might have constructed 5 years back, and within 5 years they are telling their employees to work from home. So this is the impact of, so there must be a flexibility in the application and non-fixedness in idea. There should not be fixed idea when you are thinking about the future. So there must be a flexibility, there should not be a fixedness, or there must be a non-fixedness in the ideas. So future could not be one. That you must remember always. This is another important thing when we think about the future. That is speed of development versus speed of time. This is again an important factor because speed of time remains constant. 1 घंटा will remain 60 minutes only even in 2047 or even in 2097. But the speed of development may vary with knowledge and application, both, because science generates knowledge and technology creates application. So it is very clear nowadays because we have passed at least 12th standard science. So this is very clear for us that knowledge and its application, it has a great impact, and the speed of development varies with that. You can see the history. There are few benchmarks. It is very interesting for the student, and my request is to try to understand how in olden days people, means the warriors, they won the war and why the other party was defeated. It is because of this technology, very small technologies. I will give you, as I belong to Maharashtra, I will give you a simple example of Bajirao Peshwe, first Bajirao Peshwe. And he went up to Kabul, and very long way, and he won Delhi also once upon a time. What made he changes in his army? In those days, one soldier has one horse. He made 3 horses for 2 soldiers. That was the only thing. And that's why this, ये जो घोड़ा जब थकता था तब वो जो आदमी है उसको चेंज कर लेता था. And because of this his logistics was very fast. उस जमाने में जो सेनाएं बाकी सब दिन में 6 मील चलती थी, 7 मील चलती थी, that time he used to travel 40 miles in a day. So that was the only change. That was out of box idea, and that was what he used, what was available. So like this you can see that the speed of development changes with knowledge and application. Now AI is coming, means AI has already come, artificial intelligence. It is there. I don't know how many of you must have used that chatbot, which is banned in the Western countries in the education. That is a fantastic tool. Twice I used that and I found it very interesting. But it is dangerous for education, not for the other things. So, and another thing is, today's innovations are always tomorrow's traditions. आज आप कितनी भी चीज नहीं लाइए, after few years it will become tradition. Then again, new innovation is required. That's why when we talk about the future, then speed of development versus speed of time we must always understand. Then image versus reality, this is particularly regarding Ayurveda. Image क्या है और reality क्या है? So the first point is sound versus noise. See, everybody here agrees that Indian military is now feel proud. That is what, how I happen to know. I never met a soldier, I never met a general, I never met a major or a colonel. But how we happen to know this? Because that is a part of society. Army is a part of society, and it is creating sound within themselves which is heard by the remaining society. So if we are making a particular sound, then remaining society hears that. And that creates image. Same thing is applicable to Ayurveda also. Whether we are making sound or we are making noise, that will create an effect on the surrounding society. I will give you an example. Our Honorable Minister just told about the research. The first research paper in Ayurveda was published in 1905, and now it is more than 120 years. And still, all people, even Ayurvedic people, they are saying that research is needed. What happened in these 120 years? Because we don't talk about this. We are only creating noise. That's why the remaining society also, they think that there is no research in Ayurveda. Actually, it is not there. In 120 years, at least one paper each year means 120 papers at least minimum. There are thousands. But that issue is different, that I will deal in this slide regarding the research. But this is our problem. This is the problem of Ayurveda sector, that we are creating noise, not the sound. We are not saying that we have this much research is done. That's why other people are also saying that the research is not done. Then principles versus practice. As I told in the morning, Brahme Murte Uttishte. Nobody gets up in the morning because of the source of energy. So there is a gap between our principles and practice. So that we must minimize, or we must accept what is there in today's lifestyle, and accordingly we must change ourselves. In Ayurveda, there was a inbuilt model of public health. Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam came first. Each practitioner was a public health officer. But now public health is different. And the whole orientation is regarding treating the patient. We have lost this connection. And that's why we are creating a problem. So this inbuilt model of public health, we are losing. There was a copy-paste of allopathy education to Ayurveda education. So then Aturasya Vikara Prashamanam came first, and Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam, like allopathy, came next. So that's why this inbuilt model of public health is in a way broken. It is not in the practice. Now we talk independently about ahara, vihara, lifestyle disorder and wellness and so many things. They are inbuilt. Actually, this is the responsibility of a Vaidya, practicing Vaidya. So that we are losing, that is the problem. Disease orientation versus lifestyle management. As I told you, as I explained, same thing. Because we are more focused on the disease management and less about lifestyle management. So that is there is a small story how it happens. Actually, I read that story in a book on art of war, that is by American general, and he talks about, means the main subject is the art of war. There he wrote a story, and he wrote it with a different perspective. I am talking regarding this, our perspective. There was a king, and he had illness, and his physician treated him, and then he got cured after a very long treatment. Then at the end, when he became all right and he came to his court, Darbar, then he told to that Rajavaidya that you are a great master in medicine. So you must be the great in our country. So he humbly said, no sir, I am not the best. Then he said, who is the best then? Who is better than you? Then he said, my younger brother. Then where is he? He is the physician of governor of that province. So he said, yes, that province and that governor I know, and I have heard that he has a very good physician. He is your elder brother. He said, yes. What is his specialty? So he said he diagnosed earlier than me, quickly, and he uses less medicine. So he said, then he must be very good. You call him here, he must be the best physician in our country. Then again he humbly said, no sir, he is not the best. Then who is the better than him? So he replied, our elder brother is there. Where is he? He is practicing in our town, in our village. So what is his specialty? So he said that he diagnosed very quickly, he used very few medicines, and he is expert in advising not to get ill by changing the lifestyle, by changing the diet, etc. So the king was very much impressed, and he said, yes, then you call him, he must be the greatest one. He said, no sir, Then he said, what? We have another elder brother. What he is doing? He is not doing anything. Then what is his speciality? He said, if he goes to someone's house at the time of lunch, looking at his thali, he can predict after how many days he is going to get illness of what type. But the thing, my friend, is such practice doesn't exist today and he will not survive. उसको कोई 5 पैसे भी नहीं देगा. Because our whole orientation is disease orientation. We are far away, we talk about this, but we are far away from lifestyle management. So this is again the image versus reality. And the different sequence in primary, secondary and tertiary healthcare is again a problem with Ayurveda sector. I am a practitioner of 35 years. I have a standing, I am a Vaidya. I write it. I have a Panchakarma unit. Nowadays I am not going because of my Delhi job, but I practice for 35 years. The diseases which are supposed to be primary, secondary and tertiary as per allopathic system are not primary, secondary and tertiary as per Ayurveda system. I will give you few examples. Like a person with a severe pain, backache and lumbar. The diagnosis is lumbar spondylosis or whatever the case may be. We call it Katigat Vat. It is very easy for a general practitioner of Ayurveda to treat that patient. Here MBBS doctor immediately looking at his pain, he will refer it to a orthopedic surgeon. It is very easy for Ayurveda doctor. Any type of functional gastric disorders. In Ayurveda, we don't need gastroenterologist. It is the job of a general practitioner, Ayurveda general practitioner with his medicine. We call it penis. It is a severe sinusitis. Normally, such patients are referred to ENT surgeons. Ayurveda doctor never send it to a ENT surgeon or a specialist because it is his domain. With Nasya and all, he treats all these severe illnesses of ENT and all. But when it comes to a typhoid, any MBBS doctor can treat. But Ayurveda physician with Ayurvedic medicine, it is difficult for him. You must have seen, those who have seen the Ayurvedic Samhitas, a long chapter on Jwara, much dedicated to Jwara. 30 chapters, 40 chapters, everywhere they are discussing on Jwara because that is difficult for a Ayurvedic practitioner to treat the Jwara. If he can treat Jwara very successfully, well, like you can say meningitis. It is not the job of even a MD Ayurveda man. He could not with his medicines. He has to refer it to a neurologist or whatever the case may be. So, the different sequence in primary, secondary and tertiary healthcare we never spelled out. वो उधर बोला है वो प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर है इसलिए प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर है, उधर बोला है वो सेकेंडरी है सेकेंडरी हेल्थ है, इधर बोला है वो टर्शरी है टर्शरी है. We are using this same terminology and that is again a image versus reality. In pedagogy, questioning. You can see any book of Ayurveda. कुछ भी सीधा लिखा नहीं रहता. There is always a questioning. Even you can see because this is the Indian tradition. You can see any tradition. You can see Mahabharata, you can see Bhagavad, you can see any Poti. Either Parvati asked to Shankar or Shaunaka asked to somebody, or even in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked to that. Basically, questioning is the same in the Ayurveda. All rishis, they sat together like this, what you are sitting now, and they are discussing. They are asking question to sir, and sir is answering. Question, answer. So questioning is the soul of Ayurveda. Progressive unfoldment of knowledge is another one. Now that I will explain in the last, I have a slide, very good, so I will not explain because here after 10th, 11th, then 12th, then first year, second year, third year, like that, and then graduation, post-graduation, like that, super speciality, like that. But in Ayurveda it is not there. if this red carpet is there and a person is sitting there with a folded one, he just kick that carpet. It goes to 2 feet, 3 feet up. And till that time, he is contented with his knowledge. Again he kicks that. Again he goes forward. So it is called as progressive unfoldment of knowledge. That is the speciality of Ayurveda. Openness for everything. You must have seen Ayurveda, they accept anything. They accept modern advances, they accept old things, they accept what not, anything. So this openness to everything and horizontal teaching. This is a very big subject. Now our teaching, as I told you, is vertical. After anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, microbiology, biochemistry, then like that we go like this. But in Ayurveda it was horizontal. Because in Gurukula system, the education starts with internship. Those who knows the Samhitas, that is classical text, there is a description of dissection. Sir, but that was not in the first year. वो जब सर्जरी सीखने जाता तो उसके पहले उसको डिसेक्शन करवाते थे. So that was horizontal thinking, horizontal teaching. And in practice, openness with nature, in spirit and letters, you must have heard much about it. Then Tridosha and Panchamahabhut, etc. Now this Ayurgenomics has come, Ayurveda and Genomics. That is based on this Tridosh Siddhanta. IGIB, Institute of Genomics and Integrated Biology, the CSIR Institute. It is working on Ayurgenomics since last 10 years. It is not new. 10 साल से काम चल रहा है. And they are doing very well. And priority to Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam. That is another, as I told you, because that public health was inbuilt, and ethics. Regarding ethics, I will give you a sir. There is no much description in Ayurveda text regarding ethics, because nowadays this unethical practices, they are in not only in medical field, in many fields they are increasing like anything, and we all know about that. But what Ayurveda says, Putravat Acharet. You treat your patient as if he is your son. If you are treating a patient like a son, and if you are sending him for a X-ray, then how you can take a commission? That much only they talk about ethics. उसको अपने बच्चे के समान पालो. That's all. That is the ethics what they have told. So this ethics is also very important in short, but with a very deep meaning. Now, where do Ayurveda education stands today? The existing MSc is already 1 year old and 1.5 year old, and it aims at 2030. It is aligned with National Education Policy, because National Education Policy is also rolled out. The proportion of theory to activity-based learning is 1:2 now. If you are teaching for 1 year, then activity-based learning will be for 2 hours. So that proportion has changed in Ayurvedic education. 3,000 teachers of first professionals are trained for medical education technology, which was not there previously in Ayurveda education. Introduced edutainment, that is education and entertainment together, because that is the trend all over the world. And library hours, recreation, physical education in regular timetable, everything. Like school, many people they said that you are running a school now. So I am not sure, but this is the thing. And introduced advanced assessment methodologies. Because now the problem with assessment, there are many, and there were revaluation and again valuation and so many things. So now we have introduced double valuation, no revaluation. एक ही समय 2 लोगों से जांच लीजिए, and then the result will be final. Defined methodology for incorporating scientific and technological advances and removing outdated content from time to time. The speciality of this new science and technology is it becomes outdated after some years. So then we must have a mechanism to remove it. Otherwise it will create a problem. And introduced elective courses for multidisciplinary approach. Now the curriculum is of 2 types. One is main course, which has to be taught in the colleges, and the others are electives. And all electives are online courses. And he has to get the certificate, and the student will get 10 marks in the concerned practical. That is what the ideal thing. The idea behind this elective is he must be open to many things, like as I told you, AI, artificial intelligence. He must know about it. If you want to know about robotic surgery, what is it there? It is in Times of India or in local paper. Then there must be a small 40 hours course on robotic. He is not going to do robotic surgery, but he must understand what is going on in the field of medicine. So that type of courses, or if somebody wants to get him introduced to a Vriksha Ayurveda, yes, he can do that course. Or he want to do a course in Gaja Ayurveda, Ashwa Ayurveda, he can do. So like that is these courses they are widespread, and for that we are preparing our student. This is for the UG. I will add regarding PG. Within 10 years, actually it has started. Whole biological research will be dominated by mathematical thinking and programming. Are our students ready? Not even in allopathy and not in Ayurveda. Medical field is not ready for that at all. Then again, the research will be done by somebody else, and we will follow that. So if we want to avoid that, then PG level, when we are going to introduce this, can we introduce this online course regarding mathematical thing? Programming, yes, many students they are doing. I know at undergraduate level they are very good at programming, but see, these are the challenges of the future, and we must think about this. So this introduction of electives, this is new one. These are the upcoming challenges. There is a zero failure sink. आप किसी भी आयुर्वेद वाले को पूछिए, he has no failure, sir. Because of lack of experimentation, this happens. Unless and until you do experiment, if you rely again on Samhita, Charaka, Sushruta, then there will be no failure. Because they are time tested. 2000 साल से हजारों लाखों प्रैक्टिशनर उसको यूज करते आ रहे, तो उसमें कहाँ से फेल्यूर मिलेगा? You do new experiment, then only failure will come. So it is called zero failure sink. We don't have failure, and that is a hurdle in our progress. So we must do experiment. We must fail. Then only we can learn and we can progress. So because of lack of experimentation, there is a zero failure sink, and investment in failure in all respect is zero. किसी भी फार्मा कंपनी को बोल दीजिए आप कि आई वांट टू डू एक्सपेरिमेंट, ही विल से वो लिखा है क्या, श्लोक है क्या उसका, बिकॉज दैट इज द गारंटी. Even though I have a new idea and I have a new plant, say American plant I have brought from outside, and I want to use it in some Vata Vyadhi, pharma company is not ready to invest in it. So this is another problem. Investment in failure in all respect is zero. The reverse is the case with the modern science. They do 100 experiments, they do 1000 experiments, and then one succeeds. It's called research. They have 999 in their failure scene. So this is our problem. And how much technology does Ayurveda need? We get driven away by the technology. And today's adoption of technology is by compulsion, not by choice. ये हम तय करते ही नहीं. It is decided by the technology, whether you have to opt for that. See, like mobile, this is a compulsion now. There is no choice whether you want this or not. And are we ready to accept robot as a teaching in our field? This is a serious thinking. So, when we talk about future, how much technology, another example I will give, we are in Karnataka, and Karnataka music is very famous all over the world. And if a traditional Karnataki Gayak, if he decides to use the drums in jazz, it is available. Will it be okay for you? Neither for him nor for you. So that singer has to decide, because he belongs to Karnataka, traditional singer, that how many drums of what types are required for my singing. So how much technology does Ayurveda need? That we have to decide first, because technology also, what I am seeing is in particularly in medical technology, there are two trends. One is for simple instrumentation, like वो कोरोना में हमने वो पल्स ऑक्सीमीटर यूज किया, everybody. That is simple one. Now, a few years ago when I started practice, we have to write a prescription for blood sugar. Now everybody has a instrument. For checking blood pressure, everybody has to go to a doctor. Now everybody has these instruments. So this simplification of instrumentation is one line, and then from X-ray to CT to MRI to PET, this is another line. So which line you want to pick up, or how we are going to mix small things with the bigger things in technology, that we have to decide as when we look at the future. That is what my suggestion is for thinking about the future. These are the upcoming challenge. Knowledge poverty. UG education was information based. Questioning उसमें का खत्म हो गया. So student never asked. The question used to be asked by the teacher only. वो विद्यार्थी को कभी पूछने ही नहीं देते थे. So that must go, because this leads to knowledge poverty. PG education is one step ahead with a little flavor of research. Then we are using Pallavagrahi Buddhi. In our tradition there are two Buddhis. One is Pallavagrahi, that which counts the leaves, and the other is Mulagrahi. Mulagrahi means going to the root. Now we are using Pallavagrahi Buddhi, and when and how to start Mulagrahi Chintan in education is not yet clear with all these systems. So for allopathy, parallel system of information and knowledge exists in the field of science, but in Ayurveda, this system doesn't exist. Allopathy have a model. There are many experimentation in education, medical education abroad. But here in Ayurveda, nothing is there. So we have to create our model, we have to experiment, we have to do many new things. And as I told earlier, if they are outdated, remove. So that type of openness is required for Ayurveda education when we think about 2047. Now this is way forward, what initiatives we have taken. Establishment of Human Resource Development Center, 360-degree approach, it is there. Sir, it is not for giving you trouble, it is for the benefit of the sector. Development of virtual reality, augmented reality teaching contents are there. To implement classical teaching methods like Charaka Vada Marga in regular teaching. Many experiments have done in Karnataka itself. Because Vada Marga Sambhasha is a method of teaching method. So we must use it at our college level. That is what we are promoting, and we have done it for this. And transform vertical teaching to integrated modular teaching, and development of demonstrative technique for fundamental principles of Ayurveda like Panchamahabhuta. That is not philosophy, basically. It is a physics. And now people are saying that it is a quantum physics. There is a professor in AIIMS Delhi, and she is working on this. And she has many developments. And use of software for balancing syllabus. This we did recently, 6 months back. Because in a profession we have 6 subjects, and 6 teams, they sit together for creation of the syllabus. So there is an imbalance, because that student, if it is a 6 chakke ki gaadi hai, so then that student don't feel comfortable with that. So to bring the similarity in that, we have created a syllabus, and now it is working. Now the new syllabus for second professional will come with this, and the expert in this field, they can assess that is what. And discussion from creation of new samhitas. We are using 2000 old samhita. Why not 21st century samhita? We have called a meeting for that, and we hope that in coming years we will have a new samhita for 21st century. Planning for textbooks with periodical editions. This is very well established in allopathy, but not in Ayurveda. So for that we have created guidelines for that, and that will come to the teachers also. And we have created a scale for standard textbook. That will also be applicable within a month or two. And we have conducted a thought experiment that many of you may be knowing. And it is a very long subject, but this has also happened in the education field for the first time. We asked teacher, what is your opinion regarding your educational qualification? And that thought experiment gave a lot of a lot of information, a lot of insight to the education. This is progressive unfoldment, and this is what is stepping up. This makes it very clear what I explained here. That is on the right side. That is progressive unfoldment. This is step by step. 10वीं के बाद 11वीं के बाद 12वीं के बाद part 1. Now this is short. I will finish it within 5 minutes. Progress through research against validative research for validation. Normally in all fields of the science and technologies, research is for the addition. Here in Ayurveda, no research is done for the addition. Thousands of papers are there. Thousands of papers are there already. You can go to Scopus or you can go to PubMed or anywhere, and you can type even a basti for a woman, for plants. There are thousands of these. But they are adding nothing to the line which I learned from my Samhita or my Nigantu. And that's why it is not being used by a practitioner. And that's why we cannot create a sound that this is a scientific. We talk about evidence-based. Already a lot of evidence is there, but it is not additional evidence. It is what I learned in my graduation is enough for my practice. So this progress through research and validative research is, we don't have any research for our progress. Only validative research in the name of evidence-based research is going on. That is a bitter but true fact. The difference between terminologies in education and research are different. Here in education we talk about Panchamahabhut Siddhanta, Tridosh Siddhanta and Rasaguna Virya Vipak Prabhav and so and this and that. And in teaching I am told that Punarnava tu Shothagni, that is Punarnava is anti-inflammatory. That is. But here when it comes to the research, then Ashwagandha is anti-inflammatory. It is not written. This anti-inflammatory word itself is not properly there. So the terminology in my teaching and terminology in my research are different. So these are creating problem for using this research to me. I am doing research since last 25 years in a tertiary care neurology hospital, but I cannot tell this to my patient. Because what I am doing, I have 29 publications, you can search. I have a citation index, I have I-10 index, I have a H index, everything is with me. But when I sit with my patient, I cannot tell that I am doing this and this is useful for you. Because the terminology for my practice, for my diagnosis is different than what research I am doing. So this is the problem. And the another is for whom we are creating evidence, we must be clear. Whether it is for the other people, then we must be clear that this is for the other world. It's all right. No problem in creating evidence for the others. And it is not also bad. But we must have a clear idea. We are doing something and we are telling that this is new research. No, not at all. The lead is from our Samhita. So it is not new for me who has learned the Samhita properly. And another thing regarding education is another story. This is where I was doing my research. There was one DM neurology, a very bright fellow. And he came there, he was very famous, and he used to, that institute's director, he is, you can say, father of neurology in central India. So he used to bring that fellow for research committee meeting. And there he was non-expressive. DM neurology, our topic mainly is clot lysis and neuroprotection. And he was just sitting like this. So one day I asked him, Doctor, are you not interested in this research? Or do you feel, because he is DM, he has traveled all over the world and he worked in many big neurology institutes. And when he is coming here, he is sitting like this. So he said, do you feel, I asked him, do you feel that this research what we are doing is substandard? He said, no, this is, now we are going with the world, but I am not interested because I am trained to use research, not to do research. So this is the problem of our education. We are mixing it, sir. We are talking to the college that you do research. They are not meant for, our education system is not meant for doing research. So we are making it clear in PG education that the research component in PG education is to teach him how to do research, not to do research. So their dissertation work could not be a world class or very high class. They could not generate a very high class. Our CCRS and NCISM together, we have launched for UG students, for if they have some new idea. I talked to Director General, I told him, he was not convinced. Then I told him, if a undergraduate student says that I will create a petrol out of air, then give him 50,000 rupees for idea. Because out of that 50,000, he will not create a petrol, but he will learn that this is not possible. So for that we must give, now it has already been launched, many colleges from Karnataka, they might have the scholarship and they might have students. Now we are launching for the PG student. And I suggested them again from there, you give him 1 lakh rupees, you monitor that. Unless and until, because it is a money game, research is a money game, it doesn't come with the idea only. So we are giving now, it is almost from next year it will be applicable. So these students, PG student, those who will qualify for that will get 1 lakh rupee for their dissertation work in 2 installments. So like that we are trying to make them more research oriented. Since last 3 years we are sending research paper to all teachers of Ayurveda. Every month 2 papers, because our teachers, they are not that much enthusiastic to find out the open access journals and their research paper. That we are doing, and that is now after 3 years it is giving the fruits. Creating cohesive ecosystem for development of the sector is a very important point. As NCISM, we don't want this, that blue man is NCISM and all other are down. No, that yellow person is NCISM and all other are sitting together, and unless and until we work together, we have a dialogue with each other, we cannot improve. We will remain there itself. And again, there will be a comparison, there will be allegations, there will be so many things. So to avoid that, we have to change our system also. And for that, this is our proposed model. That's why we are interacting with students, we are interacting with management people, we are interacting with the teachers, we are conducting surveys and so on. So this is the basic idea for, this is the preparation of going towards 2047. So once again, I am very much thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I might have taken some 5-10 minutes more, sir. Sorry for that. And thank you very much. And namaskar to my all student friends. Namaskar.
I would like to tell a few things about your Honorable Medical Education Minister. And the Bagmar and others are telling that, and even Dev Pujar was mentioning how simple he is. See, he was our Medical Education Minister for 5 years. In fact, whenever we talk about the medical education, we always remember his reign, how transparent the system was, how approachable to all of us, and how he solved the problems. And at the personal level, if I am standing here as the Vice Chancellor, he is also root cause. How I tell you? In 2015, I was appointed to the register evaluation. I had not met him, I had not approached him, I had not applied, I had not told anybody to approach him. Directly, I was appointed to the Vice Chancellor, register evaluation. In fact, ನಿಮ್ಮದು ಇದು REA ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗಲೇ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೊದಲು ನನಗೆ ಐಡಿಯಾನೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಎವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಷನ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ವಿವಿಧ ಸ್ತರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಆ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ರಿಂದ ನನಗೊಂದು ರೆಕಗ್ನಿಷನ್ ಸಿಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು VC ಆಗೋಂಥ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಸರ್, ಐ ಆಮ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಇಂಡೆಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಯು ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್.